I'm glad to have you back. It's daybreak and it's time for the paper review. A variety of stories making to the front pages this Tuesday morning, but let's see what our sister publication this day is reporting. On its front page, it has it there, the Presidency, Atiku is distorting facts. Seyi Tinubu has rights to do legitimate business, says foreign investment is in stock market now 93.37 billion naira. Knocks ex-VP for alleged bitter politics. The leading photograph is that of Mrs. Tinubu receiving the first female Army Sandhurst graduate at the State House yesterday. In the yellow box this morning, Fubara Rivers Assembly members no longer exist as lawmakers in eyes of law. And former VP raises questions over Tinubu's whereabouts, says Nigeria on autopilot as Shetima returns to Abuja is in the black box there. Well, above the masthead this morning, the CBN has ordered implementation of a 0.5% levy on electronic transactions to tackle cybercrime. Funds to be remitted to National Cybersecurity Fund administered by Office of the NSA. I wonder what Dr. Constance Ikoko has to say to this. That's this day for you.
Let's look at the Punch newspaper. Dollar speculation urged to ban Naira from crypto trading platforms. DG meets operators, directs traders to name and shame racketeers. And just a picture you're watching there. Woman shot, scores injured as police tear gas Delta protesters. Nigerians reject electricity tariff cut, demand total reversal instead. Rivers Assembly overrides Fubara again. Governor vows not to worship any man. And then Shetima shelves U.S. trip as presidential jet develops fault to meet the FD orders registration of 1.9 million POS operators.
The Vanguard leads with petrol scarcity. Why pump price is high on our stations, says the independent marketers. That's the top story there.
Punch Sports, brisk business. It will be tops Arsenal's profit sales with 30.4 million euros. Partey, Jesus linked with Saudi moves. And then as bad as it gets, Palace wallops Man United 4-0. That was yesterday. Showdown in Paris. PSG will play against Dortmund. That's for that.
The Guardian Nigeria, consumers seek lower tariff as NERC, the regulator, adopts monthly review as well as 1,227 naira to the dollar rate.
Let's look at New Telegraph. NERC reduces band A tariff from 225 kilowatts per hour to 206.80 kilowatts per hour. And Nigerians are saying one of the papers, total reversal. Cryptocurrency FD most deleted in Naira from P2P platforms. Cashless check transactions sustained decline by 27.5% to 262.4 billion naira.
A quick travel to South Africa this morning. Let's look at the business day, South Africa. Shell quits forecasts, or forecasts rather, keep production. Business day South Africa, yes. So the story is that the British multinational oil giant does not aim to exit the country, but is disposing of its non-core retail business, which houses its service station. We also know that the multinational is facing legal challenges from environmental groups.
Let's look at the Citizen again from South Africa. It says, no blackouts. It's not staged. Well, it says here, the absence of load shedding for just more than a month is not an election ploy by the ANC, but due rather to a decrease in demand during the evening peak and an orchestrated effort and engineering feat by the team at Eskom, says Electricity Minister Ramok Gopa.
The Guardian UK this morning reports on Hamas saying that it had accepted ceasefire for hostages deal and Israel's skeptic response, while Israel also carried out night airstrikes on the city of Rafah.
If you go to I, it talks about Alzheimer's genetic link raising hopes of early treatment.
Well, you can see a replica of the stories on most of the front pages this morning, reported in different ways. But for analysis of a big story, let's bring in journalist, social commentator, Arise News analyst, Dr. Constance Ikoku. Great to see you this Tuesday morning.
Great to see you this one.
Yes.
Good morning.
Good morning, Seyi.
So, I mean, this day is following the story through and through. The presidency reacted to former Vice President Atiku Abubakar, who had raised concerns, described the Lagos-Calabar Coastal Highway again as being rushed, and also raised concerns about favoritism because the first son, Seyi Tinubu, is apparently part of the board of a company which is an ally to the Shaguri family, which is also linked to the Calabar Coastal Highway. A lot of things going on there. But, I mean, what did you make of this response by the presidency?
Indeed, a lot of things going on there at Desua. The Chaguris are, you know, personal friends of the president. It's not news at all. And so Atiku is saying that there is a conflict of interest. But, you know, trust Mr. Bayo Onanoga, who is the special advisor on information and strategy to the president. He is not one that shies away from a dogfight. He is ready to come there and give you the mud. And so he's telling Atiku that all the things he's saying, you know, are baseless and untrue. And it tried to clarify, and what he said was that Seyi Tinubu, the son of the president, is a member of the board of directors of the Chaguri Group. He joined in 2018. He's representing the interest of an investor company that he has an interest in. And so he went on to say other big Nigerians such as T.Y. Danjuma are also part of the group. T.Y. Danjuma actually owns the largest shareholding in that company, he says. And so he also comes back to Atiku to attack him, saying that Atiku set up the Intels group with an Italian when he was a customs officer, which according to Bayo Onanoga is against civil service rules. So he does not have the moral right to lecture anybody on this sort of things. But let's go back to the main question. Is this a conflict of interest? Of course, Seyi Tinubu has the legitimate right to, you know, do business, but there is a fine line because he is the, you know, son of the president. Remember when the president went to Qatar on official visit, Seyi and his brother, you know, in the line of protocol, stood before even the foreign minister and shaking hands with the dignitaries, and a lot of Nigerians cringed at that photo, at that picture, saying it shouldn't be so. Yes, you know, his children can do their businesses, but they should be sensitive, you know, to make sure that, you know, they're not taking undue advantage of the position of their father as president. And I think that is fair to say.
All right, let's look at Punch. Punch has some interesting stories. There's a story of Osun State Governor. He is asking Governor Sanwo-Olu to investigate the issue of Osun indigenes. Task force threatened to kill us being moved from Lagos to Osun, and the governor said, okay, I'll investigate it. And there's the FG ban to ban Naira from crypto trading platforms. But there's also the story in Rivers State, Assembly overriding Fubara again. The governor himself vows not to worship any man. Is this a reference to his fight with the FCT Minister Wike?
That's right. That's a reference to his long-drawn battle with the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Mr. Nyesom Wike. That has been ongoing, and the governor is in a tight corner. Even though he is the executive, you know, governor of the state, he has all the powers. But what we are seeing is that most of the assembly is against him. They are pro-Wike. So what you find is that it's difficult for him to get anything through the assembly. And it's also because he accepted when, you know, there was a problem and the president intervened, he accepted whatever proposal that was given to him to make sure that peace reigned. And then here he is still having the problem. And so this particular procurement act, the assembly had sent it to him to append his signature. He declined, and then they overruled him, which is very unusual at the state level. Governors usually have a measure of influence in the State House of Assembly. They have a rapport. They're able to get through bills or decline or whatever. But what we are seeing here is that he has very little power. I think that's what this mirrors, and I think this is going to continue for a very long time.
Dr. Okoko, if you look at the front page of this there, above the masthead, you have a very critical business story there. The CBN directing commercial banks to deduct from customers. There's also a story that makes it to Daily Trust this morning, and that's a 0.5%. Are you able to make sense of this story? Does it affect everybody? I mean, who does it affect? And can I just ask you, at what point does the Nigerian public really brace?
Yes, Nigerians can't catch a break, it seems. It doesn't affect anybody. This is strictly for electronic transfers. They say it doesn't affect salaries or loans, disbursements or payments, other categories. But the point is that people are really getting tired of charges and levies. There is the ATM charges, there is the domiciliary account charges, electronic transfer charges. There are all sorts of levies and charges.
And this is called cybersecurity charges.
Yes, so this is new. The Office of the NSA says that it is in line with the 2024 Cybersecurity Act, which requires that they deduct and collect levies in order to set up the cybersecurity center. Yes, cybersecurity is very critical. It is an issue at this point, and they are trying to find ways to fund it. So there is a special account at the CBN where these levies will be domiciled or deposited, and then it will be managed by the Office of the National Security Advisors. I try to read general views of Nigerians, and they are like, okay, you can begin to tax us for the air that we breathe, and you can also tax us for walking on the streets of our different states. So people are not happy about it. And you also know that the president, when he was governor of Lagos State, he was known for taxes. And so people are thinking that we're going to be seeing more charges and levies and taxes within this administration.
It's interesting because that's sort of contrary to what his body language and what he's been saying. By even setting up the Presidential Tax Committee headed by Mr. Oyedele, they want, according to them, they don't want more taxes. They just want to plug the loopholes and increase what they get from those that would have been leaked in the system. But that's not what we're really saying.
Let's be sure, taxes are important. You need them to run the economy. You need them to run the country. However, the problem Nigerians say is that there are too many taxes at different levels in Nigeria, whether it's a local government level or the state level. You go to the market, all sorts of government agencies are coming to tax you. So there is no harmonization. Anybody and everybody can tax you. That's the problem. You have to do taxing in such a way that it's functional and it's not a burden to the people, and it's actually easy to pay. I think that's what they need to do.
Indeed.
Well, the Vanguard, and talking about this tax issue and the burden on the people, there was one of the papers that talked about, even though NEPA has reduced Band A customers, they want a total reversal. But here in Vanguard, the front page, petrol scarcity, why pump price is high in our stations. Ipman is saying that. But we have claims of foreign military base in Nigeria. The federal government categorically says this is false. Electricity, FG is slashing Band A, what I was talking about, A tariff, by 8%. What do you make of
well, let's go to the foreign military base. That's a really top story. I think when you look at the social media, it's on fire with that story. It has stirred a lot of debates. People asking, is this true? So the Minister of National Orientation and Information has come out to say categorically, this is not happening. We are not in discussions with the Americans to have a military base here. We know how the story got to this. The Americans and the French have been expelled from Niger. They're also having problems with other countries like Burkina Faso, those ones that had the coup, from last year and a couple of years ago, and they are taking back their country. And so, these countries are looking for bases all across, that are close to them in order to mount their military alliances or whatever they do, on that front. But the point then is that the discussion, when you look at it critically, is that most foreign countries that are in Africa are there for their interests. Africa is a place where the priority is to make sure that there is flow of natural resources and minerals to the Western world. Not only the Western world, for instance, China as well comes here for mineral resources. The lives of Africans do not seem to be the priority. As long as those minerals are flowing, that's the most important thing, and that's why you see this military bases. They call it security, but security is also tied to economy, and that's why also you see that multinational companies are always backed by their countries, by their government, because money, you know, and minerals and everything, it goes together. So Africans are saying, when you also read, you know, conversations on the internet, Africans are saying enough is enough. Our lives are a priority. Our lives are important. Our government should really begin to speak for us. Well, Nigerian government says this is not going to happen. We'll watch and see. Indeed, and there are those who have questioned, I mean, if we do this, our foreign policy is being non-aligned. So if you do give your territory to the US, where you have Russia back in Niger, some kilometers away, then perhaps your foreign policy needs to change. But Dr. Constance, let's quickly go to the international scene, where The Guardian is reporting about the situation in Gaza and the fight between Hamas and Israel. Israeli airstrikes have continued on Rafah despite the ceasefire pressure. Yes, so Netanyahu is not backing down, very hawkish man. He has rejected the ceasefire, which was brokered by Egypt. He says Hamas has gotten what it wants, but Israel is not, you know, pushing through what it wants. So this ceasefire is not acceptable to Israel. I tell you, all over the world, people are tired of the story, especially in the United States of America. When you watch what is going on, campuses are on fire. People have been protesting. Universities have been forced to come in and break up camps, you know, between the pro-Israelis and pro-Palestinians, and it's a problem for them. And, you know, the general view is that America's democracy will probably die on this issue because there's so much hypocrisy that people are seeing on this matter. They just want them to get a ceasefire through so that people can stop dying in Gaza.
That's the most important thing, so people can't stop dying and so people can breathe. Thank you so much, Dr. Constance Ikoku there on Paper Review. For more, follow us on X at Arise TV.